The chamber buzzed with that uneasy quiet just before a storm. Kash Patel leaned forward, lips curled in a half-smile that knew the cameras were watching. He tapped his papers, savoring the tension. "Tell us, Congresswoman, do you even understand the law you're defending?" Gasps rippled, his words weren't just sharp, they were bait. Jasmine Crockett didn't blink. Her fingers brushed the mic, a single motion of absolute control. The lights glared, the crowd froze, and time itself seemed to hesitate. Then she spoke, voice steady as steel wrapped in calm. But no one in that room, not even Kash Patel himself, could have predicted how Jasmine would flip the entire exchange upside down. 24 hours earlier, the hearing was billed as a solemn inquiry into government accountability, a stage for truth, not performance. But in Washington, the line between justice and spectacle blurs fast. The committee room gleamed under cold lights, microphones poised like weapons. Kash Patel had come armed not with evidence, but with theater. He rehearsed his sound bites, each one crafted to slice, to trend, to feed the algorithm. His allies whispered that he just needed one explosive clip. Across the aisle, Jasmine Crockett studied her notes in silence. She'd seen men like him before, loud, practiced, hungry for chaos. Her preparation was different, steady, surgical, precise. Where Patel sought applause, she sought clarity. Where he plotted a performance, she prepared for a reckoning. And as the first cameras rolled, a quiet tension filled the room, the kind that tells you something real is about to break through the noise. Patel thought this would be another viral victory for him, but Jasmine Crockett had a very different kind of virality in mind. Kash Patel entered like a man stepping onto a stage he owned. The suit gleamed, the smirk landed just right, and every gesture seemed rehearsed for the evening news cycle. Once a trusted Trump advisor, Patel had perfected the art of controlled chaos, turning hearings into performances, questions into bait, and accountability into spectacle. His followers called him fearless, his critics called him calculating. He spoke of integrity, yet his record read like a maze of contradictions, facts bent, narratives twisted, truth reshaped for applause. In interviews, he laughed off inconsistencies as if honesty were optional in politics. Still, there was something magnetic in his defiance, the swagger of a man too accustomed to winning the optics game. But beneath the confidence was something else, a hint of overreach, a reliance on theater that no longer fooled everyone watching. Even in his calm, there was arrogance, even in his smile, a warning. He'd built a career on dominating the stage. But this time, the script wasn't his to control. Before Jasmine Crockett ever sat beneath the glare of congressional lights, she stood in crowded courtrooms defending those no one else would. As a public defender in Texas, she'd learned that justice wasn't about who shouted the loudest, it was about who listened the closest. Her preparation was ritual, pages annotated, facts cross-checked, emotions tempered. Accountability, she once said, isn't vengeance. It's respect for truth. That quiet conviction became her armor. While others rehearsed insults, she rehearsed integrity. Colleagues called her unshakable, opponents called her dangerous because she couldn't be provoked into pettiness. Her composure wasn't passive, it was power refined through discipline. Where Kash Patel thrived on spectacle, Crockett thrived on precision. She didn't need to perform, she needed to be understood. Every calm glance, every measured response carried the weight of someone who'd already fought real battles beyond political theater. She'd faced louder men before, but this time, the stakes weren't just political. They were moral. The clash began with Patel's voice cutting through the room like a blade wrapped in charm. "Congresswoman Crockett," he began, his tone laced with mock civility, "maybe you can explain why your side refuses to face reality?" Cameras clicked. His words weren't questions, they were traps, loaded and deliberate. Crockett met his stare without flinching. She didn't interrupt, didn't react. Her silence was unnerving, it threw his rhythm off beat. He leaned in, louder now, layering insinuations with that smirk made for viral clips. "Maybe," he pressed, "you just don't understand how serious this is." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Patel's allies nodded, sensing victory, while across the internet, live feeds began to surge. Viewers tweeted in real time, "She's too calm. He's trying too hard. Wait for it." Each time he interrupted, she reset the tempo with a simple glance. Her stillness became its own language, measured, unyielding, patient in a way that felt dangerous to his theatrics. Patel's performance grew frantic, his tone desperate to fill the silence she refused to break. He wanted a reaction, she offered reflection. The longer she waited, the more the audience leaned in, pulled toward an unspoken storm building beneath her composure. And then, just when the tension seemed unbearable, Jasmine Crockett leaned forward, and said 12 words that froze the entire chamber. Her words landed with surgical precision. "Mr. Patel," she began, voice even, "if you're finished performing, perhaps we can discuss the facts." A hush swept through the chamber. Patel blinked, his smirk faltering as she reached for her notes. No theatrics, no flourish, just truth laid bare. She walked through his claims one by one, dismantling them with calm logic. Each correction hit harder than the last. Dates. Documents. Direct contradictions. "You've spoken about integrity," she said softly, "but it's difficult to find when you rewrite it mid-sentence." Murmurs rose. Patel shuffled his papers, searching for a counter that wouldn't come. Cameras flashed like lightning across the dais. The more she spoke, the smaller he seemed, shrinking beneath the weight of her composure. Lawmakers exchanged glances, a few leaned back, almost in awe. Online, the reaction was instant. Split-screen feeds lit up with tweets, "She's teaching a masterclass. Crockett just ended him with facts." The hashtag Crockett flips the trial began to climb, each share a spark in a digital wildfire, and still, Jasmine stayed calm, unmoved by the chaos she'd just reversed. Her power wasn't in volume, it was in precision. She'd taken his noise and turned it into silence. But Jasmine wasn't done yet, because what she said next wasn't about Kash Patel. It was about all of us. Jasmine paused, letting the silence do what words could not. "This," she said, gesturing toward Patel, "isn't just about disagreement. It's about what we choose to believe and who gets to define the truth." Her tone wasn't angry, it was resolute, a calm forged through years of having to prove what should have been self-evident. She spoke of misinformation that corrodes democracy, of how spectacle replaces substance, and of the double standards that demand composure from some while rewarding outrage in others. "We don't serve the people by shouting," she said, her voice steady, "we serve them by listening." Each sentence peeled back the layers of the hearing until it was no longer about Patel or politics, it was about the nation itself. The struggle between truth and performance, courage and calculation. She reminded the room that dignity wasn't weakness, it was resistance. That silence, when chosen, could roar louder than chaos. Lawmakers sat frozen, unsure whether to applaud or to reflect. Patel's face had hardened, his confidence evaporated. He'd come to provoke, but she had transformed his attack into a mirror reflecting everything broken about their discourse. The room was silent. Even Patel had no lines left to read. But outside, the echo was just beginning. Within hours, the clip had detonated across every platform. TikToks looped her calm takedown over triumphant music. Twitter threads dissected each pause, each fact, each unshaken glance. News anchors replayed it in slow motion, calling it a lesson in composure. Memes spread faster than outrage usually does. Patel fumbling, Jasmine unmoved. Hashtags flared, hashtag Crockett flips the trial, hashtag integrity in action, hashtag truth wins quietly. Celebrities and activists posted in unison, "Jasmine Crockett just changed how hearings will be remembered." Commentators who once prided themselves on neutrality admitted, almost reverently, this wasn't a debatte, it was a masterclass. Patel's silence became its own symbol. No follow-up statements, no press spin. Just absence, the loudest defeat of all. Meanwhile, millions shared the clip as if it restored something personal, faith in decency, pride in poise, proof that intelligence still mattered. For a moment, the noise of politics gave way to clarity, and Jasmine Crockett's composure became the country's conversation. But the most powerful reaction came not from the internet but from Jasmine herself. In her first interview after the hearing, Jasmine Crockett smiled when asked if she felt she'd won. "It wasn't a contest," she said quietly. "It was a test of whether truth can still stand on its own." Her words carried the weight of something deeper than victory. She spoke about the responsibility that comes with visibility, about how leadership isn't noise but consistency. "Courage," she said, "isn't about volume. It's about conviction." The interviewer pressed her on Patel's silence, but she deflected with grace. "Everyone has their way of showing reflection," she offered. "Mine just happens to be through facts." The line struck a chord. Across the country, young women clipped that moment and shared it as gospel, a reminder that composure is its own rebellion. Crockett framed her exchange not as confrontation, but as proof that accountability and empathy can coexist. She tied it back to the American promise: fairness, equal voice, dignity under pressure. "The lesson," she said, "wasn't about who shouted loudest. It was about who spoke with truth." As the interview ended, the camera lingered on her calm, steady gaze, a quiet defiance in a noisy world. Because in an era built on performance, Jasmine Crockett reminded America that authenticity still wins. The lights fade, but the echo of that moment remains. One woman's calm defiance against arrogance became more than a viral clip. It became a mirror for a nation asking itself what kind of strength it values. In every era, there are those who perform for applause and those who persevere for purpose. And history, inevitably, remembers the latter. So as you watch this unfold, ask yourself, whose side of history will you stand on? The side that shouts, or the side that listens? The side that spins, or the side that stands? Because dignity doesn't trend, it endures. Truth doesn't need volume, it needs voices willing to carry it forward. If you believe in that kind of courage, share this story. Let it travel further than the noise it silenced. And if you want to see more moments where integrity faces power and truth never flinches, subscribe, stay loud in principle, and stand tall in purpose.